Good morning, everyone. How are you today? My name is Professor Grayson. Well, okay, it's actually Penelope Grayson, but everyone in my college has called me Professor Grayson for so long that I sometimes even forget that I have a first name. As you couldn't tell already, I'm a teacher located in Georgia. I've been teaching at my college for over 5 years now, and I'm pretty proud that I'm only 30 and already have so many appraisals from my coworkers and boss for my integrity and hard work. And yet, it only takes one person to make me wonder entirely if I should give it all up for love. If you haven't done so yet, please be sure to leave a like on this video and click the subscribe button. Thank you again, and let's get back to it. So I've always been the goody two-shoes growing up. Actually, even now, I always stayed in line. Staying in line means predictable, safe, and comfortable. Those who stray usually mean risking it all. And it's not something I like to do. That meant I'm traditionally not considered to be fun. I enjoy doing things like reading puzzles and taking pictures. Even though everyone I've tried to date says I'm beautiful, sexy, and hot, they hated how boring I am. It used to hurt, but now it doesn't because I've given it all up. I decided to just focus on my job full-time because love was just too difficult. It would only hurt me more. I became somewhat withdrawn from the world because of getting hurt again. Yet in my classroom, my students loved me. After all, I'm usually an easy grader and fun to talk to since I'm rather passionate about literature teaching. Literature has been with me through everything. Whenever I'm sad or lonely, I can place myself in the characters' shoes and live through them. I've lived 1,000 lives through these characters, fallen in love many times, and went on so many adventures as well. I convinced myself it's better this way, and for 5 years, I built my way up top. That's when Harrison Trayton walked into my classroom and everything changed. He's the typical popular jock of the university. He's the quarterback for the football team, and although he always is cracking jokes and acting rather arrogant, he was a kid that seemed to be a bit lost in life. He did drugs, skipped classes, and started to just stop caring in life. It's like something changed halfway through the semester, and I wasn't fond of it. His grade was slipping, and I didn't want to see him throw away his future. So one day, I decided to talk to him after class because I was concerned for him. After all, a professor should always be caring and concerned for their student, even if they're arrogant and got on your nerves. Mr. Trayton, please stay after class. I would like to discuss something with you. You sure you're not going to just try to get me to sign up for some extra lessons at your house? He joked, making everyone laugh on the way out. I rolled my eyes at his comment, waiting until the classroom cleared until there was only the two of us. Then I walked over to him and sat on the table in front of him. Harrison, are you okay? The question seemed to take him by surprise because he stilled, probably not expecting anyone to ask him that question. I watched for any signs that he might be in trouble before he leaned back and shrugged. I'm getting by, he mumbled. Are you sure? I asked for clarification, not believing him even for a minute. At that, he scoffed loudly and rolled his eyes. Why? Is this the part where you lecture me that I should be happier or do better in your class? You're paid to be here talking to me, aren't you? What? What does that mean? I asked, furrowing my eyebrows in confusion. What does he have anything to do with it? He stared at me warily for a moment and then tilted his head to the side. My father didn't put you up to this? Put you up for what? Nothing, he shook his head. And there's some sort of awe that passed in his eyes. You're asking because why? Because I care, I chuckled when he narrowed his eyes suspiciously. What, I can't care about one of my students that was doing so good at the beginning of the semester and is now slacking off? It's just, I don't know, he finally said, his eyes transfixed onto the desk. My dog died recently. He's been with me since I was 8. Oh, my condolences, I apologized. He quieted for a moment before speaking again. You don't think it's stupid I'm affected by his death? Why would I think it's stupid to mourn over a family member? I questioned. Family, yeah, he's family, he said as if trying to see it in a different light. He drummed his fingers against the desk and swallowed. My father laughed when I told him how affected I was. He made some crude joke about how I was in love with my dog or something like that, but he was my best friend. Your dad's an idiot that doesn't know what he's talking about, I said angrily before I could stop myself. He's also a billionaire. Having money doesn't mean anything. He's still rude and incompetent father who his son needed for comfort during this time. I seethed before gasping when I realized I was talking rudely to his father. My eyes widened as I placed my hand over my mouth. No offense. At that, he threw his head back and laughed. It was the first time I saw him laugh that wasn't forced or fake. His eyes seemed to shine as if he made a conclusion about something and gave me a huge smile. You know what, Penelope? You mean Professor Grayson, I corrected. Penelope, he repeated and leaned forward, slowly gripping my jawline. You're single, right? I nodded, a bit weirded out about his question, but decided to answer anyways. Yes, I replied, and then I gasped. Oh my goodness, are you trying to hook me up with your father? No, you're way too young for him, but not old enough for me, he murmured, and amusement flashed in his eyes. Why aren't you taken or married? Because I'm boring, I dryly tell him before I can stop myself. Who the heck said that? He said rather angrily, his whole body turned rigid. Is it someone from campus? At that, I was the one laughing and shook my head. You wouldn't get it. You're only, 20? Only 10 years younger than you, which isn't much, he snorted. Tell me. Guys usually want to date girls who's funny, outgoing, and adventurous. Whenever I tell them my ideal perfect date is eating Chinese food while being cuddled at home and watching a romance movie or reading a book together, turns them off pretty fast, I tell him. Not sure why I'm even telling him all these things. The last guy I dated told me I was so boring he'd rather talk to a wall. I guess I never tried dating again after what he said. You still have his address? He asked me randomly. I blinked a few times and then frowned. For what? So I can beat him, he said, deadpanned. I do have it, but I'm not giving it to you. I laughed, shaking my hand. For some reason, there's something about Harrison that made me want to tell him everything and anything. Perhaps it was because of the intimacy of the moment. He watched me laugh in awe before he blurted out, Let me take you out on a date. See, depending on the college, you can either be suspended or just frowned upon for dating a student. My college takes it up a notch by reporting it to the police and making sure it stays on your record. I chuckled, shaking my head. No, you know that's not allowed. I'm way too old for you as well. What if I do good from now on? I cocked my head at his question as he got closer to my face, our lips mere inches apart as I realized just how hypnotizing his eyes were. What do you mean? If I pick up my grades and strive to get all A's in my classes, while never skipping, and also get our college football team to the semifinals, will you go on one date with me? It was practically impossible to do both, so I sighed, agreeing to keep him entertained on the idea. I've been teaching for almost 5 years now, and there's no way for someone who's on the football team to get all A's while practicing sports. I've seen some with A's and maybe 1 or 2 B's. But at the end of the semester, he came to my office with a bouquet of roses and his transcript with all A's on them. I was so shocked, but was also so happy for him as well. Sure enough, I agreed to a date, but we both decided to go to another town instead due to the fear of getting caught. It's only one date anyways. Like I had told myself before, once he realized just how boring I am, he'll stop with the silly pursuit of me. So I was relatively surprised when he said he wanted to hold the date at my place instead of in another town. As he said, it's not like anyone will know as well since we're not going out. Entertaining his idea, I agreed and told him where I lived. For some reason, I was somewhat nervous about our date. After all, it's been years since I went on a date of any sort after being scarred. Yet the whole night felt perfect. It was so weird. I guess in my head I thought there would be no way a jock like him would go for someone boring like me. But we actually got along really well. We had many shows we liked, enjoyed the same food, and so much more. Yet, I knew this couldn't continue because he's going to be my student for another class in 2 weeks. Though right before classes begin, he invited me over to one of his games. Some of my coworkers were surprised to see me because I don't really watch sports, yet they didn't know that I'm going because of Harrison. Not only that, I noticed that some male coworkers looked at me differently because of the way I dressed as well, but it didn't matter. Because I realized that I'm hopelessly in love with my student. Now this is where I would need your help because I can't tell anyone else. What should I do? I've never fallen for someone this quick and hard before. I know it's rather taboo and wrong, but I can't help it. He seemed to understand me in a way that no one else can. I'm sure that he feels the same as well. If you were in my shoes, would you give up your dream job to pursue love? Why or why not? Please leave a comment below, and it would be awesome if I can get different opinions of what you would do in my shoes. I think Harrison is a once-in-a-lifetime guy, and he's the one. But I've always played it safe in life. This is making me so nervous and conflicted. Make sure to also leave a like on this video, and we'll be sure to do part 2, based on the advice I receive in the comments.